Okay, welcome everybody to Dharma Punx Seattle. Good to see you all. We started going through the Brahma Viharas last week, and continuing on with that, we will be covering Mudita, or that's the Pali word. The English translation is appreciative joy or sympathetic joy. This one is, of the four named, maybe the most challenging one to cultivate. Equanimity, I think, can be the most challenging to maintain long term, but to get genuine sympathetic joy can be at times the most challenging and the most rare. So what is it? There's aspects of it that I will go into just around the benefits. This is one of the ways that we can really start to take digs out of the self. Because one of the ways that it's not in the suttas, it's a later commentary, still extremely old commentary and important. I forget the name of it, but it talks about the divine abodes, and that each one of them have a near and a far enemy. And for appreciative joy, the far enemy, meaning the more obvious one, the opposite would be greed or jealousy. So when we are cultivating appreciative joy or sympathetic joy, what we're doing is we're abandoning jealousy. The near enemy that it speaks of is called, or is exuberance. And mind you, similarly to so many of the other talks, this isn't the jealousy is bad, exuberance is bad, but what it's pointing to is the way that we can mistake something for another. So we might be feeling a lot of excitement for somebody else, but that's not the same thing as appreciative joy. Similarly, other terms that they use for the near enemy is simply ego, in that it's often where we start in with the comparing mind, and where we start in with the measuring of ourselves that hinders our ability to have sympathetic joy for others, to legitimately take joy in other people's successes and triumphs. And for some of us, this is really hard. For some of us, being able to watch other people succeed in certain areas of life can be really heartbreaking and challenging for us, because what does that do? That points to the scarcity. It says, what if there's not enough for me? Or why wasn't I good enough to get the job promotion, right? So that's where we're looking at the near, or the near and the far enemies of appreciative joy. And slowly taking the hacksaw at where the self can be born in a moment, right? Rather than just witnessing something that was objectively, if not for our stories and our conditioning, is a good thing, right? Objectively, it's a good thing, but because that person got the promotion, or that person is dating the cute person. What about me, right? It becomes about us. So I'll leave the introduction there. And just talking a little bit about the near and far enemy of appreciative joy and how it's operating in your own life. I feel like it's one that can be really, really subtle. I feel like most people don't like to readily admit that we're jealous or that we compare ourselves to people. And it can take a little bit of a magnifying glass to see how much of it we actually do. And so I think it's important to bring up and be honest about for ourselves, because we do it. So, we'll leave it there. And then if you're tuning in on the live stream, just go ahead and meditate or journal on the topic. All right, let's meditate 30 minutes. Finding a comfortable way to sit. Checking in with the body for any immediate discomfort. Allowing yourself a moment to adjust. Scanning the body for any tension that you might be carrying from the day. Drawing the lumbar in and softening the belly. Letting the shoulders naturally fall away from the head. Letting the jaw relax. And taking one longer exhale than all the rest. Letting the body feel draped on the spine, like a coat on a coat hanger. And connecting with the breath. Breathing in, know that you're breathing in. Breathing out, know that you're breathing out. Recollecting the importance of the breath, how necessary, how precious. as you're watching the breath in and out, cultivating some level of appreciation for this breath that is just breathing, this body breathing all on its own. Now begin transitioning to a body scan, beginning at the top of our heads, our skull, and continuing with this appreciation. That on its own, we have this skull, it's the correct size, it's doing hopefully what it's supposed to do. Our brains, even with the most difficult brains, attempting to show some appreciation for its many networks, for the simple things that it allows to make easy. And just thank you. Thank you, brain. moving toward some of the other sense doors, the eyes and the ears, the nose and the mouth. Allowing us for some ability to make sense of the world around us. To take in sights that we enjoy, tastes that we enjoy, sounds that we enjoy. Thank you. In general, our faces and hair, the parts of us that typically other people use to identify, or how we might mostly identify ourselves by. Thank you. Continuing to scan down to the arms and the hands. Parts of our body that we often are using constantly, subconsciously. Helping us to get done the things we need to do, our work, our leisure, our creativity. Scanning through the torso of the body. Housing many of our organs. A complex network, a system. Thank you. And moving down the lower half of our body, our legs and feet, carrying us around for all of these years. Thank you. And turning the attention to the entire body itself, with its skin and skeletal system and nervous system. Even when our bodies aren't cooperative and aren't aging and are aging, there's so much that it does all on its own. And trying to imagine what it would be like if we had to manage each little thing that it does do for us. So even with whatever grievances we can get stuck on, attempting to appreciate at least the parts that are happening naturally on their own. Thank you. I know I can give you hell, but thank you. And begin noticing what appreciation feels like in the body. It's not excitement or exuberance, it's quieter than that. And gentle. having some sense of what this appreciation feels like. Begin spreading it to the people in this room. You can imagine it as a blanket covering all the people, or recollecting people individually. And not just appreciating them for them, but the goodness that's in them. Their successes, their good qualities. See if you can spread that appreciation, that care, that joy. Noticing any resistance. If that's there, it's okay. Just noticing. Non-judgmentally. Oh, there's some resistance here. And becoming curious about that. Next, whether you have more of a sphere or you're recollecting people individually, see if you can invite somebody who's been difficult. Into your appreciative practice, appreciative joy. Seeing if you can send them this same quality. Remembering that this doesn't negate any negative qualities this person has. Letting that appreciation lighten any resentment or any clinging that might be present. The appreciation does not have its nails out, claws out. Now, letting go of that difficult person. Coming back to a final appreciation of yourself for putting in the effort of trying to see clearly. For the small things you do and the big things you do to take care of yourself. Thank you. hard to appreciate our enemies. So a little bit just about appreciation. Appreciation isn't necessarily strictly mudita, the way it's spoken about in the Brahma Viharas, but Western teachers have taken on this, has extended this teaching into a concept called non-attached appreciation, which there is so much to be said about how underrepresented this specific heart practices amongst the others. I feel loving kindness gets a lot of appreciation and in time. Same with compassion. Equanimity seems to be a fan favorite. Mudita, appreciative joy, less so. And maybe that's not true for everybody, but I know that was true in my own relationship, that I have a tendency to pick favorites, and appreciative joy usually landed somewhere last. Some of that, I think, came from my own approach into the appreciative joy practices, coming into 12-step rooms of recovery, and gratitude being something that was pounded into me as a necessary, vital part of living, and falling into the trap of exuberance, that through appreciation that I could simply vanquish difficulties because I could just gratitude away. Well, at least I still have my health, right? And not actually address the difficulties in my life, right? I could ignore the difficulties in my life because I could simply just continue to refocus on the gratitude. And in some ways that's a good skill to have, but not if it is continuously at the expense of being able to look deeper at the difficulties in our lives and get down to the emotional processing. Gratitude does not help with that emotional processing. When used wisely, when not being the near enemy, we can use it as a aid to letting go. It's one of the secret superpowers of appreciative joy, or non-attached appreciation, is that it is an aid in the letting go process. And maybe looking back on your own life, I know that was one of the pivotal points for me, seeing it in my practice, was finding myself at a point where I felt like I was just kind of dogpiling, like making a monument of all the nasty shit that happened to me in my life. You know, it was like something had happened in my life, and then it was like, oh, and then that, you remember, like, all of those people left, and that person left, and like your dad, and then this, and like I was able to just keep making a monument out of my pain. And that's really easy to do when we are in pain, is to hyper focus on all of the things that are wrong and have ever been wrong. And in meditation, it had sort of dawned on me that there was a monument to all of the pain and suffering that I had experienced. And yet, why not a monument to the good things? You know, mentally, if there was a picture drawn of these monuments, the pain, suffering one would be as tall as the ceiling, and the good stuff would be as big as that Buddha. Mentally is how I approach things, and I had to get really honest with myself and say, that's not accurate. Like, this is, like, not saying that none of this wasn't important or wasn't true, but it's not an accurate representation of my life. There have been, if I really, really, really take an honest look, and most of the time I just don't want to because I'm attached to this pain and this suffering because it means something and it's me, there's a part of me that feels like if I acknowledge that there was any good, that it like takes something away from the suffering and the pain. And it doesn't. And that was such a powerful moment in my practice, my experience with appreciative joy, was to any time that I feel in that extremely heightened state, to notice, is there a monument? And then to like see if I can pan, you know, because we're like focused in, see if I can pan to the left a little bit and how is my appreciative monument doing? Is it there? Is it anywhere? Is it in frame? Can we make it in frame? And it regularly helps me have a more objective view. I feel I'm speaking from my own practice a lot because just of how I think important and how powerful of a tool it's been with some of the trauma EBITs specifically. There's something so powerful and rabid and somatic and all-encompassing when we're in those like deep moments of anguish and trauma trigger. And I love it because it doesn't say we ignore. We're not ignoring. Only we're changing the perspective a little bit to something that really is what the Dhamma is all about, right? Dhamma, synonym to reality. We're seeing the reality. Whereas when we're only in that space of being transformed by the trauma, that's a level of delusion. That's not the reality. So can we hold both simultaneously? Can we hold the pain and hold the parts that have been good at the same time? Not spiritual bypassing and saying, well, none of this matters because, I have my health and I have my car and, whatever. Like, we're not trying to eliminate this other side. So the role of appreciation, powerful, tricky sword to wield. Because also if we're attempting to let go of something very specific that we have our claws in and we don't really want to let go, turning to appreciation can be really helpful. Because why do we not want to let go? We don't want to let go because we have some belief that if I continue to hold on, I can control it. I can fix it, I can change it. There's something, if I keep holding on, that control is still for me. And what the appreciation allows for when we're attempting to let go is saying, because it's not all bad, there's nothing to fix, right? Because if it's all bad, if it's awful, then yeah, fuck yeah. Like, of course we have to fix it. That's the only solution. But if we're able to look back at, if we're trying to change our relationship to a relationship or a job or anything, and holding it more from a space of, okay, and what were the good parts of that? It allows us to take our claws out of it. But, it's like a very tenuous thing, because if we start thinking about the good too much, then we can go into fantasy and start thinking about how amazing it was and and if only I had, so very tenuous. Appreciation. Like, the way I like to look at it is the kind of appreciation we would have at a museum. There's, maybe unless you're a little bit of an insane person, most people don't go to the museum and be like, I have to have that. Like, I have to, right? No, you go there and you walk through and you appreciate the different art and the different artifacts. Maybe there's a part of us that is a little greedy and is like, that would be cool, but but for the most part, we just naturally understand that that's not going to be something that we get to have. And trying to approach appreciation with that same level of non-attachment. There it is. That was cool. That was a cool moment. I'm going to put a little frame on it. It's a cool little painting. You just put a frame on it and keep moving. The sympathetic joy, the more traditional focus of Mudita being for appreciating others' goodness similarly, allowing for us to get through some of that bias of always kind of searching, looking at the negative in others, or our just general ambivalence of others. Really attempting to train the mind in a way that allows us to look at the people in our lives and not just have a deadpan gloss over them, not just be, oh, I know this person so well, so therefore I know all of their awful habits, and like, I'm only focusing on that. Rather, once again, looking and trying to cultivate that eye toward goodness in the world, even in the things that seem unpleasant or ugly. I don't want to be too broad strokey with this, because there are some things that people have done that are heinous and awful and terrible. And so I don't want to broad stroke appreciative joy too much in this way. But I'll say for the more standard resentment, I'm sure that being able to have the appreciative joy the sympathetic joy toward people in moments of anger or frustration can help us with resentment. Because what happens when we get into resentment, we kind of get stuck in the spiral of like, and recollecting all of the things that they've ever done. They've always been this way. They will always be this way. Why won't they ever change? And trying to bring some level of focus on the good quality. And this isn't, again, to say that they're all good, but bringing it into reality. That this person can't possibly be all bad in some scenarios, right? Like, we're not talking about like the most heinous situations here. We're just our typical resentments. Thinking about the way that sympathetic joy also helps undermine the comparing mind. Because in the scarcity mindset, that when we're looking at the near and far enemies of sympathetic joy, that's really what we're trying to get to, is the scarcity and the I and the me and the my, making this is just one way to begin uprooting that process. Going back to that analogy that I used, that was kind of silly, but it's a little bit applicable, that I can't remember if it was Ajahn Sumedho or Ajahn Brahm said, I think it was Sumedho, but this was Adler. This was an Adler one, excuse me. If you were, just a person in time and space floating in the void, how would you know what you were missing out on, right? How would you know that you wouldn't have the promotion miss, right? Or you wouldn't have the I'm ugly, or you wouldn't have the I could lose weight, or whatever the comparing mind does, right? And so when the mind does what it does, right? It goes out and it sees people and it makes judgments almost instantaneously. Acknowledging that's going to be a part of our everyday lives, is that our mind sees people, makes a judgment, makes a judgment, makes a judgment. Seems cool, seems weird. And we don't necessarily have to worry about controlling the mind. The mind is just minding. It's just going to be that absurd judging mechanic. And when we see ourselves in that judging space of, wow, that person seems cool, they're doing this job, I want to do this job, how do I get this, right? We're in the comparing mind, we're engaging in the what if, the scarcity. And so what we're attempting to do is just taking joy of, wow, that person has a cool life. That's so cool for them. My favorite appreciative joy term, I'm happy you're happy. And I've said that so many times with gritted teeth, I'm happy you're happy. Somebody, not somebody in this room, but somebody I don't like, bought a house in the past couple of years, and I had a huge, that's why I had to clarify, not in this room, somebody I don't like. And such a I'm happy, you're happy moment. But training the mind toward that, rather than fuck them, they don't deserve that, right? when we're not in that sympathetic joy space, we get into the who deserves what business. Get start allocating resources managerially of the world. So, yeah, I think that's what I have to say on Mudita, on appreciation, on sympathetic joy, appreciative joy. Any thoughts or questions about this one? Okay. You're making a face.
Definitely have questions. I'm tired. I cannot perform.
Okay. Then we shall move on. Appreciate you. All right, Donna. We have a $5 to $10 suggested donation. Ultimately, Buddhist teachings are freely offered. So if you don't have it, don't worry about it. If you don't want to, don't worry about it. The $5 to $10 goes toward just helping sustain Dharma Punx Seattle and paying rent, most importantly. Yeah. We'll end with dedicating some merit. Does anybody else want to lead the merit dedicating today? Be a little spontaneous.
I wasn't prepared for this.
Okay. I'm going to start asking that question more often, so not to freak you guys out, but all right. So in practice, we don't, any goodness that is cultivated here today, we don't keep, we spread it above and below, to the seen and the unseen, to those who are being born and to those who are dying. Thank you.
That meditation knocked me out.
It's also warm in here. Warm meditation is a sleep meditation sometimes.
Mm-hmm.